Okay, I think we're good to start. Welcome everyone. My name is Emily Cohen and I'm one of the presidents of the Runway of Dreams Club at the University of Wisconsin. I'm currently a sophomore majoring in marketing with a certificate in digital studies, and I'm very passionate about the work that Runway of Dreams does. I'm currently wearing a green sweater, have long brown hair, and I'm in a room with cream colored walls. Our club is so excited to have you all here. I'd like to also introduce my co-president, Lily.
Hi everyone, my name is Lily Klein. I'm a junior majoring in consumer behavior and marketplace studies. I'm currently in a room with beige and white walls, and I have blonde hair, and I'm wearing a gray sweater. I'm so excited for the unique expert panel we have tonight, and I cannot wait to hear from them about their experiences. Thank you everyone for joining our panel discussion event with the purpose of raising awareness around inclusion in the fashion industry, both on and off the runway.
Runway of Dreams and its clubs work towards a future of inclusion, acceptance, and opportunity in the fashion industry for the community of people with disabilities, and we do this through our campaign for inclusion, adaptive runway shows, and our college clubs. There are more than 20 clubs nationwide, and they are growing every year.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Miller, and I'm a junior majoring in strategic communications in the journalism school. I'm the co-marketing chair of Runway of Dreams, and we're thrilled to have you all here tonight. I'm currently in a pink and gray sweater. I have brown hair, and I'm in a room with white colored walls. So in the spirit of time, we're going to have our amazing panelists introduce themselves and begin to explain their experiences with adaptive clothing. We're going to start with you, Nancy. That's okay. Unmute.
Sure. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, be a part of the organization and chat. I am Nancy Connor. I'm a white woman with blonde hair, wearing glasses and a blue blouse with some contrasting fabrics inside the collar. And the room I'm in has bright green walls. And I have a clothing rack behind me and a sign for Smart Adaptive Clothing. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nancy. Next up, we're going to hear from Jillian to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian. I am a white woman with brown hair. You can't see just based on the camera angle, but I am a little person or person of short stature. I am wearing a pale pink sweatshirt, and while my background is blurred, I am in a room with windows, black couch, and cream colored walls behind me.
Cool. Thank you, Jillian. And next up, we're going to hear from Robin.
My name is Robin, and I am a mother of a child with disabilities. His name is Wyatt, and my husband and I we're co-owners of WyattWear, a company that designs and manufactures bibs for those who drool. I am an African-American female. I am wearing a blue shirt, and I have very short, dark brown hair. And I'm in a room with white walls, although you can't tell because I have a 4-panel green screen behind me.
Awesome. So before we get started and ask you guys a bunch of questions, I just wanted to let the audience know that the chat box is open at all times to answer some questions if we don't answer anything. So feel free to anyone in the audience to type.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Jesse Weber. I'm the current treasurer of Runway of Dreams here at UW-Madison. I'm currently a sophomore majoring in finance, investment, and banking, and I'm very excited to be a part of the Runway of Dreams organization and help them carry out their goals. I'm currently wearing a blue t-shirt, have short brown hair, and I'm in a room with white walls. And we're very excited to have you guys all here. Our first question is for Jillian. Thank you for your time this evening, and we're very happy to have you here. What motivated you to start Always Looking Up, and what message or goal does your platform emphasize the most?
Sure. So Always Looking Up is my blog and podcast. I started first with the blog in 2020, and I started it after having been inspired by seeing Sinead Burke, who is a little person out in Ireland. She is an advocate for accessible and adaptive fashion in Europe, and seeing her on the cover of British Vogue in the edition that Meghan Markle was the guest editor of. And that kind of reignited this passion for fashion in me that I've had for quite some time and wanting to do more. So I started the blog where the focus was purely on advocating for adaptive fashion. I would comment on Fashion Week looks and looks at the Oscars, talking about how they could potentially be adapted for a little person body. And over time and over the years, the blog and the platform and the podcast has expanded to talk about issues affecting the little person and disabled communities, not just limited to adaptive fashion, though that is a main focus.
Thank you, Jillian. The work you have done and continue to do for the community of people with disabilities is truly incredible. Your blog is so interesting, and I encourage everyone to check it out. Hi, just to introduce myself, my name is HAILEY RAVITZ, and I am a sophomore at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, studying journalism with a focus in strategic communications. I was so lucky to be able to participate in the Runway of Dreams internship program last summer, in which I learned so much about the importance of inclusivity in the fashion industry. Today, I'm wearing a blue shirt and have brown hair, and I'm in a room with white walls. A big supporter of Runway Dreams missions has been Zappos Adaptive. So our next two-part question is for Nancy. What inspired you to start Smart Adaptive and then work with Zappos Adaptives? And were you always interested in fashion and empowering people with disabilities?
Great questions, a lot of questions. You might have to remind me. So I started Smart Adaptive Clothing. We just hit our 5-year anniversary on December 1st. Yay. Yay. Thank you. And it's amazing. My father was the inspiration. So my dad was living in assisted living. And he was someone who always looked nice, dressed in a button-down shirt, slacks, nice shoes that he shined every day. And my dad fell and he broke his hip, his hand, and the same exact hip all in about 10 months, which was a lot. So I literally get the chills talking about this every time I say it, every single time. So the nurses and aides didn't want to take the time to help my father dress in the clothing that he liked, how he liked to present himself. They suggested pullover sweatshirts and pull-up sweatpants, which are great. We all wear them, right? I love them. Everyone loves them. But we don't always want to wear them every day. And, just like you don't always want to wear a button down. So we couldn't find anything. And I thought, what do I do? What do I do? And at that point, I was in corporate America in the dental world for over 20 years. So I was managing 3 business units internationally and domestically. So I knew how to run a business. It was just someone else's money. So I had the skill set and I thought, okay, well, I can't find anything. We can't find anything for my dad. So I left my career and in medical device and sales management, and I started a clothing brand. So even if there's one thing that you hear that I say today, if you have a dream, you have an idea, you see a need, go for it. Just try. Whatever you do, take that first step. That's the hardest step. And then I'm so fortunate to work with Zappos Adaptive. They are, in my opinion, the market leader in adaptive clothing, in the adaptive clothing category. So of course I wanted to partner with them and work with them. And Runway of Dreams, I also love Runway of Dreams and having that exposure and having my brand on the runway the past 2 years. And this helps us reach the folks who need and want adaptive clothing, whether it's for themselves or a loved one, a friend, a neighbor, a cousin, a mom, a dad, a son, a daughter, etc. Because as you all know, there are approximately 20% of the population around the world is living with some type of disability. So we all know someone, and it could be in that list that I mentioned: friend, neighbor, daughter, spouse, cousin, coworker. And it's about, for Smart Adaptive Clothing, and for me, it's empowering someone and giving someone the option to look their best and dress how they want and make someone else feel good, and building that confidence and independence and style. And I could go on forever, but I won't because there's a panel. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Nancy. It's amazing you were able to provide your father with the ability to wear what he wanted. And we have seen firsthand how excited Runway of Dreams adaptive fashion show models get when they're working down the runway. Robin, we are thrilled to have you with us this evening, and our next question is for you. As a parent of someone with a disability, can you talk about the impact of adaptive clothing and how your son has inspired your endeavors?
Absolutely. We have been negatively impacted regarding apparel 2 significant times within Wyatt's life. The first was, upon birth, his primary diagnosis is cerebral palsy, which causes the excess drool. But then he also has a gastric tube where he gets all of his nutrition. So, we're all familiar with the onesie that babies are in 24/7, and they always have a zip that goes down the middle. And so when you have a G tube, we had to almost undress him completely each time that we had to feed him. And so that was an epic fail when it came to clothing. And then the other time that we were impacted was because of his excessive drooling. He has to wear bibs all the time. Even before, when we put him to sleep, he has to wear a bib. And so, the bibs that we discovered, because I co-own WyattWear with my husband, so the bibs that we discovered, are either really juvenile or for the elderly. And there was not really anything in between that fit our taste. We were looking for that fashion forward, like high fashion type of bib that would complement an outfit with, faux suede and leather and kind of edgy and so forth. And it just didn't exist, still doesn't exist. So we decided that we were the cavalry. We had to create what we thought was missing, or the gap in the market. So Wyatt definitely was our inspiration, because he's a high schooler now. And, we don't want a little baby bib. We want him to look cool and edgy like his classmates. So.
Thanks, Robin. We admire all the great work you do in the adaptive space. Next up, we have another question for Jillian. Can you share experience with us on how adaptive clothing has made an impact in your life? And please share both the good and challenges as well.
Sure. So if I'm being completely honest, in the realm of adaptive clothing, little people are not often designed for or considered. There's still a lack of designs for little people specifically. There are, though, a couple exceptions to the rule. There's this one brand out in Germany named Auf Augenhöhe that, having spoken with a designer, she has a cousin who's a little person, and she spent, I want to say, like 5 to 7 years in just measuring at little people all across the world to create a size chart, which is something that when I was growing up, I never thought would be possible or could exist for people of short stature. And she started this brand. So she really does, and you can tell like in her designs, that she really pays attention to what the little person body looks like, how it moves, the proportions, because a lot of us are disproportionate. So she really took into consideration. So being able to shop there has been great, though it's, it's something that I wish existed here. And I think there's definitely been more talk about including little people in adaptive design, but there's a long way to go, I think, to get to even where other disabilities are considered.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. We really appreciate it, and we totally agree, and that's why we're all here tonight. So finally, Robin, can you tell us a little bit about your family's experience in working with Runway of Dreams and how you think Runway of Dreams is just impacting the adaptive space today?
Runway of Dreams is significant in an extraordinary way because they are mainstreaming adaptive apparel. I had the pleasure of sitting in the audience, seeing WyattWear on the stage for the first time in March in Los Angeles. And I had family members that are seated with me, and they were profoundly moved by the show. And to the point where they needed to have a debrief with me after the show to just talk about how they were totally unaware of how differently abled individuals dressed, and that they would never be the same when they would get dressed from that point forward. And so in addition to that, Mindy took the time out of her busy schedule to meet with me, to give me invaluable advice before we officially launched our business. Runway of Dreams has given small brands the opportunity literally to share the same stage as the big brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Target, Kohl's, Zappos. And this organization has leveled the playing field to where small brands now have doors open to where we can speak to those big retailers. And then lastly, Runway has created a safe, collaborative incubator for brands of all sizes, community members, students, and supporters to learn and evolve with each other's help. So they have contributed significantly in my life in the last 2 years.
Thank you, Robin. That's so amazing that Runway of Dreams has been able to help you and your brand so much. And that must have been such an amazing experience seeing your designs on the runway.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, that must have been awesome. Our next question is for Nancy. Can you tell us what makes the type of apparel you make adaptive, and specifically about one or two of your designs that is super helpful and adaptive?
Sure, absolutely. So the way we design is literally talking to folks, asking people what do they want. So before we ever put a design together, put a garment together, it was talking to folks with different disabilities. And then you try and collect that data, that information, and create a blouse, a garment, a pattern, and see how that will work. And then you test it. So you come up with the conversation, the questions, you get the feedback, you create a pattern, you create a blouse, a shirt dress, and then you have people test that. So for us, what we do on our blouses and shirts, we keep the button on the front placket. Of course, I'm wearing one of our Smart Adaptive Clothing blouses. And we keep the button on the front placket and the cuff. So it appears to be, a blouse that anyone would wear. And what we do is we strategically sew Velcro behind each button. So it's helpful too that you can open and close with one hand if need be, because not everyone has two functioning hands. And a lot of times if someone has a disability or a chronic illness, they may lose fine motor skills and can't manage a button. And the same goes for the button on the placket. And I'll just grab, can you see the mannequin? Oops. One of our blouses, and we're about big and bold. You can have the solid, right? You can go black and white and hot pink, or you can go big and bold. And again, opening the placket. The same goes for the men's styles. So for us, we want that. We want everyone to feel that empowerment. We want people to want all eyes on them. That's what we're about, that confidence, that independence. And yes, whether you walk into a room, you roll into a room on your own, someone else helps you, crutches, etc. You want to be the center of attention. That's what we want for you. Oh my God, I have the chills. So that's how we create our adaptive apparel. And then there's some other great brands that use magnets, like Tommy Hilfiger. And there's some brands that use snaps, and there aren't enough brands, styles, etc. And to kind of echo what Jillian said, that there's room, we need room for designs for folks who are little people, short stature, amputee. Like, we need more brands. There aren't enough brands. Again, if there's something you have as a takeaway, start an adaptive brand, because we need more of you. And to circle back, that's how we create fun, big, bold, stylish, and it's all about you. Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Nancy.
You're welcome.
It was so great to see the mannequin of the polka dot shirt. That's just so great. And just to add on to that, Jillian, what is some of your favorite adaptive apparel for little people?
Sure. So I wanted to show you, so these are a pair of jeggings that I've owned for quite some time now. They're from Nordstrom. One thing I love about Nordstrom is that they will alter anything, even if it's not from Nordstrom. So I go there for all of my alterations. And for me, what I found with a lot of times with jeans, that particularly have a zipper that are much more stiffer. When you get them hemmed, you lose any shape in the leg. They just kind of become very like straight, which is not necessarily the look you're always going for with a jean. You kind of want them to, you want it to hug the booty, you want it to like hug all the right curves. And so like skinny jeans would never become skinny jeans anymore. Boot cut jeans, they wouldn't be boot cut. Like it didn't matter how they were originally intended. As soon as you hemmed it, the shape would be lost. So what I found with jeggings is that because there's this stretch in the fabric, they hold their shape better. So discovering that was game changing for me in terms of getting to find pants that fit. Cause then I have them in these pair in 3 different washes. And so being able, and like they've lasted me years just because I know they fit. And again, like because alterations, you're sometimes paying again for the same garment. So to be able to find those hacks like that until we have more clothing designed for us, it's kind of been the way to go.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so interesting. I never thought about how alterations could change the shape of clothes, but you're right. And personally, I've had that happen too. You each have done so much in terms of disability advocacy and making adaptive fashion more accessible for everyone. And we would love to hear more about this from each of you guys. Our club members and a lot of people watching this panel are of the next generation. So I think it would be amazing to hear what advice or forms of encouragement you would give to the next generation in terms of efforts towards fashion inclusivity. Perhaps share specific goals or efforts towards inclusion and raising awareness for those with disabilities. Let's start with Jillian, if that's okay.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry.
What efforts can people of this generation make in order to strive to make the fashion industry more inclusive?
I mean, for everyone on this call right now, this is a start. To be joining an organization like Runway of Dreams in college is great. And I think no matter your efforts, especially if you're a non-disabled person, make sure you're including disabled people in conversations about adaptive fashion, be their ally, listen to them, hear what they're advocating for, and, join them in the advocacy efforts. Social media is incredibly powerful. So when you see people in the disabled community on campus and you see them talking about it, share their posts, amplify, get that message spread. I think that's a great way to start. And then, just stay up to date with what's happening in fashion, find these influencers. There are incredible disabled influencers out there to follow. So follow them, support them. And again, like, I think that was a great, especially for those, I'm still like doing that now and I'm out of college. I think you're never too old to like stop. Like, that's just a great way to start.
Thank you, Jillian. Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Robin, do you have anything to add?
I do, and I just want to piggyback off of Jillian. You're never too old. I jumped into this game late. I mean, WyattWear it'll be 2 years old in February. I would say the biggest piece of advice I could give is to be mindful of who you share your dreams with, because there's a lot of dream crushers out there. And, just as you're developing it, you could share, but just be mindful of who you're sharing details with. And then when somebody shows you they're not a supporter, then stop sharing with them and continue to cultivate your ideas, do your research. We're in the research age, super easy to do that. And one excellent piece of advice that Mindy gave me when I consulted with her was, I thought I was an expert already in the area because my son was, he was my focus group. And I thought, because he drools so excessively, I was like, who has it worse than this as far as just the amount of drool? But it's not so much who has it worse. It's just different. Somebody's experiences are different, and it's good to capture those. And so I actually put together a focus group of people to test them out, and I learned so much. I even developed and went a different path with extending our bib line to include shoulder coverage, because people's abilities lead them to do different things that my son doesn't do. So it's super important is to, that learning spirit, keep an open mind and be careful of who you share your dreams with.
Definitely. Thank you, Robin.
Mhm.
And now to you, Nancy.
Well, that's hard to follow these ladies. What I would suggest, it's kind of a combination. So I'm a big proponent of having a mentor. So I didn't have a mentor until I started this business. And I highly, highly recommend that. You could find a mentor, a friend, a family member, probably on campus. Lots of folks in the industry, they do it for free. And that way, here's what I'm trying to say. That way you're going to get unbiased advice. And when you ask your friends and family for feedback, oh my God, they came up with the greatest design, whether it's a shoe or a hat, because no one here has that. And then they're going to be like, yeah, it's the best design ever. You're going to help everyone, and they love you, and they don't always know how to tell you exactly if it's not so great. So ask people, the focus group I was talking about earlier, ask people who you don't know. They'll tell you the truth. Listen to that feedback. Your customer is going to tell you the truth. So the feedback is key. And we don't know what we don't know, right? Like I don't know what I don't know yet. And I focus on the upper body right now at Smart Adaptive Clothing. So there are a million things I don't know yet. So look for a mentor, ask for feedback, take the feedback because customers will tell you that. And share, just keep sharing. And if you can repost something or highlight or within this club and this organization, Runway of Dreams, and folks in the adaptive clothing market, we're here to empower one another. And still to this day, like I'm 5 years in, we haven't scratched the surface yet. We've made huge milestones, but we haven't scratched the surface. So we need each other. We need each other to get to the right folks who can benefit from clothing, and we can benefit from them and what you need. So we need each other. And not everyone knows that. I'm a believer, but we can do this together. And like today, this call, it's amazing. It's amazing. So thank you. And I hope that helps, even if it's just a little bit.
Yes, it definitely helps a lot. Thank you all for your amazing advice. We all really appreciate learning from the experience you guys have had in the industry.
Yeah, definitely thank you guys for coming today. And we're happy to take any questions from the audience. If you guys want to send it to the Q&A, we could ask any of the panelists any questions you guys may have. We have one question already. It's from Jason. It says, do you feel that adaptive clothing has primarily been adopted in the US, or have these brands gone global? I guess if any of you guys have any input on this.
Well, I definitely think it's global, and there are brands that are global and sharing. I'll just speak for me personally. So my brand has been in London Fashion Week a few times. And one of my accounts, so we have several wholesale accounts like Zappos Adaptive, another brand overseas called Samantha Bullock. And she's a wheelchair user. She's one of within the top 100 most influential disabled people in the United Kingdom. She's amazing. She's a great person to follow too. And, it's reaching across the pond, and social media, it brings us together. And that's how I actually met a few of my wholesale accounts. And it's happening. We just have to do more and more of it, but it's definitely happening. So that's a great question.
I agree with you. It's definitely global. Our brand is not global yet, so we strive to get there. But I do see in the marketplace lots of people in the UK that are selling bibs. And so yeah, we'd like to expand the brand abroad eventually.
Awesome. And I just have a question. Jillian, I know you mentioned before that social media is doing great things for the adaptive clothing industry. So I was just wondering if you had any of your favorite influencers that maybe have disabilities or just promote advocacy for people with disabilities that you could suggest that our audience follows just to keep up with everything.
Ooh, that list is quite long. There are great ones out there. I I mentioned Sinead Burke. She is based in Ireland. She's fantastic, little person to follow. Here in the States, I would recommend following Julian Gavino. He's at the Disabled Hippie. I can type them in the Q&A in the chat after this with handles.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Bree Scalisi's wheelchair model. There are so many. There's Paula, I'm just gonna pronounce her last name wrong. Grosso, I know she's based in Miami. There are quite a few. I'll type, as you keep going, I will type some of their handles in the chat right now.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. What an incredible evening, everyone. I just want to express all of our gratitude to our panelists for sharing their stories and advice with all of us. We also want to thank all of our guests for joining us tonight as well. We understand that for some of you, this may be your first introduction to disability inclusivity, but we really hope it's not your last.
Thank you, everyone, panelists and participants. On behalf of all of the executive board, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dawn and Janine for their leadership and assistance. Both of you, along with the Runway of Dreams Foundation, have been able to make this possible, and we couldn't have done it without you guys. We hope that everyone is leaving here inspired and hoping you will consider to be a part of the fashion inclusion revolution.
Yeah, and once again, thanks Nancy, Robin, and Jillian for joining us tonight. We loved everything that you guys had to say. In addition to following the different influencers that Jillian just posted in the chat, we hope that you can follow Runway of Dreams, the national organization, on Instagram and Facebook, and our account, runwayofdreams.uw. If you find yourself even more passionate about the cause after tonight, like myself, feel free to check out our website as well and just keep up with all different information and ways to get involved in the adaptive space community. So yeah, thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Take care.